Good evening. Welcome. Who changes your background to a snazzy 1980s candy Liverpool jersey, but dates your sister without telling you in the first place? It's us, the Thursday night crew. For donut night, apparently, if Anan bothers to show up, we have finally have our day of reckoning for the non-appearance of Thiago. Kind of
5 minutes of
foreshadowing
fury.
5 minutes of fury and foreshadowing the non-appearance of Arnie Slot, which is causing our cousin no end of stress and mental anguish. But we're here tonight, and we have Brian with all the donuts in the background. How are you, Brian?
Fantastic! It's gonna be a great night right there for the precursor to National Donut Day, and I can't wait for Anan to come to pay us our visit here very shortly.
And Trevor, who's on the road, but still join us nonetheless because he's that dedicated, and like me and Brian, doesn't have enough friends. How are you?
I'm channeling my inner Bickler. I'm on the road, and I have a generic background, and I'm making it work. And I'm here for the donuts. I'm here for the Darwin and the donuts.
There you go, the Darwin and the donuts. So here's our show tonight for everybody to see. Donuts, and then probably Nunez and Slot or something else. Who knows? But the donuts is what the important. It's the message of the night, I believe. You could gather from that. But let's start. We know the morning coffee does the news stories, but what I wanted to get was your reaction, boys, about City suing the Premier League or threatening to sue the Premier League about the charges. Against them. I mean, it just seems like a bullying tactic to me, in the sense, almost like a Trumpian, I'm just going to litigate you into the next century and you'll never be able to afford to deal with the cases. Trevor and Brian, we'll start with Brian. Is this a situation where if you were the Premier League and they actually did issue writs, etc., you would say, you know what, City, good luck to you. Enjoy that last Premier League because it's the last Premier League trophy you're getting for a while.
I kind of think that what City's trying to do is one, but if they go there and get found not guilty, if this gets thrown out right there, they basically prove that that's unfair business practice by a Premiership. That basically tosses us 115 charges for the most part. This really doesn't they don't really have a leg to stand on after that. And it's obviously really funny that you see that the clubs that are behind them, Villa and Newcastle and Chelsea right there, are all saying, hey, yeah, they're right, because these are the same ones right there who would benefit the most from from having these financial regulations that are put onto them. So I think that City basically is saying, okay, well, if I win this, it's a good gamble. It's a good gamble right there. I can get all these other charges tossed out. But the other thing that's kind of interesting right there is that City is also holding the city of Manchester at ransom also by saying that they will fund the actual the rebuild that they were proposed right there near the Etihad Center right there if they participate in this charges and stuff like that. So it's a big bully attack. It's a basic extortion that City's holding upon both the Premiership and over top the Greater Manchester the area and stuff like that. So I hope they lose, but that's just my feeling anyway. I think just for the integrity of the game right there, they need to come there. That this needs to get basically tossed out and said, hey, you signed an agreement back when you go there and join the Premiership that these are the regulations that you abide by, and plus those regulations were done again when Newcastle came and got bought by the Saudi leagues, and all 20 teams agreed upon these principles. So hey, let's get City hammered.
You mean by David Moyes?
Yeah.
I mean that kind of deal breaker for them, for City's owners, about like funding things in the city of Manchester. I mean, if they got a broom and swept up one of the streets, they'd already be improving the entire city in literally one fell swoop, Trevor. But when you see things like that as a Liverpool fan, does it make you glad that, number one, we don't have that kind of culture? Like, the fans wouldn't tolerate that. And number two, that our owners, they may want to increase their own financial income from the club, various ways, but they're not going to do anything that's going to ruin the relationship between them and the fans and them and British soccer in general.
All right. This is gonna be just a quick disclaimer. I am a person that is never gonna fault an ownership group for trying to win at all costs. I see it as something is if you're taking stewardship of a club, your main goal is to try to win. But with that being said, there are rules. There are things in place to keep balances, checks, and the like across all the parties. And the way that City is going about it is just, it's childish. It is, you caught me doing a thing you told me not to do 10 times, but my daddy's a lawyer, so I'm going to stomp my feet and storm around, and you're going to get what is coming to you. And it's something that it's kind of pathetic if you really think about it, because for the way that like Forest and Everton took their deductions, they go, well, we gotta. Can you at least come back down a little bit? There's like a negotiation. There's a little bit of pushback, but it's something of, hey, we're trying to fix these things, and yeah, we may not be doing the best at it, but there's an effort. Whereas City's like, no, fuck you, we did these things, but we didn't, but we did because we're mad about the rules in place. So there's admissions and retractions sprinkled with deception and just ignorance at the same time. And you really just hope that in the end it just ends with something. I'm not naive enough to think that they are going to get the book thrown at them and they're going to end up in the Conference League in 2 seasons. I don't think that. But if they just I just want something at this point. I will take them having to just go start a season at like -30 or have to sell a bunch of players to kind of recoup certain, we'll say shady sponsorships to kind of bridge that gap. There's things that are going to have to be done that they probably won't do, but yeah, I'm kind of just at that point where I'll just take anything at this point. I feel kind of a guy at the end of the party. Just I'll just take anything. I don't care. But that's where I'm at in terms of City. I'm kind of just over it.
Brian, do you agree that a suitable punishment for Manchester City would be that they have to be managed by David Moyes for a season, or Fat Sam?
I'd have to go with Sam right there. Definitely Sam right there, because I think that Moyes right there, for all his faults right there, he's not really too bad. I mean, but Sam, yeah. Actually, how about Brendan Rodgers for a season? How about that?
No, he'd probably do well with them. That's the only unfortunate thing. He'd annoy people by doing well with City for 2 seasons, and then the inevitable fall
Roy
apart.
Hodgson.
Give them Roy Hodgson,
or
Joey Barton.
Ooh,
match made in heaven there. He'd be terrible as a coach, and everybody would hate him.
He's a City legend in his eyes.
Yeah.
So.
Let's just because Suzy mentioned it, and I want to talk about it because it really seems to be causing people an awful lot of consternation. Arnie Slot not given the press conference yet, and some of the things or any sort of interview, and people speculating it wasn't going to be over the Champions League weekend, which it wasn't. From a journalism perspective, they're not going to send their B squad to interview the new Liverpool manager, and the A squad aren't going to give up a free weekend in Dublin. Not Dublin. Where was the Champions League final again? It was Germany.
No, it was at Wembley.
Oh, it was Wembley. Okay, so either way, they're getting a free drinks junket. The British journalists, because that's what it's all about. Hence the point of wine thing for Fat Sam. He didn't know where he was. He just thought he was with his journalist friends. But we weren't going to get that at that point, and we haven't got anything yet. And the comparison is that we had already had an interview almost by the second day with Jurgen Klopp when he came in. But it seems to me that people have forgotten that Jurgen Klopp was on a holiday, an extended one, and started his job in the middle, well, not in the middle, 8 games into the season, 8 league games. Whereas Arne Slot has just come off a long season with Feyenoord and probably had a holiday booked and has nothing to do at Anfield right now or the training ground because there's no players unless he wants to coach the under-8s, which wouldn't mind being a Dutch coach. But Trevor, how do you feel about it? Is this something you're quite happy and prepared to wait for? Or are you, stamping your feet and going, where's my Slot interview?
Yeah, I couldn't really be bothered. It's something that a lot of people, because they are getting scared that I don't know if it's going to just get like the rug pulled out from under him or something. I think it's pretty set in stone that he's going to be here, and then there's going to be changes. And I don't think there's any backroom stuff that is going on where he's not making a statement yet because there's a disagreement in any of the parties. I think it's just something like you just said. He's a guy that just went through a rigorous Dutch season and now is probably on vacation with his family. And when he comes back at the end of the month, maybe middle of the month, depending on where they went, he'll make his statements. He'll kind of put his stamp on the club, and everybody will feel kind of not dumb, but they'll feel that the hubbub made about him not having a press conference yet is kind of pointless.
Brian, what I want to ask you is, do you think it may even be a tactical decision on Arne Slot's part where he's trying to almost have sort of a bit of a break and a palate cleanser so that he's not directly following Klopp, so those comparisons aren't made immediately. So he gets a bit of time, a couple of weeks in the summer for everybody to refresh themselves, and it becomes the day one of Arne Slot as Liverpool manager, as opposed to we're still in day 20 of mourning for the departure of Jurgen Klopp.
I mean, it would make perfect sense to me. I mean, I would want to go directly like from this next like what all this like pomp and circumstance that we had about with Klopp, and then turn around and say, "Hi, I'm Arne Slot." I mean, it doesn't. It kind of well, basically just demotes everything that you're doing as a head coach / manager, whatever you want to call this new position that he's going to, but. I think that I'd also right there think that one, he doesn't even have his whole backroom staff complete. I mean, he doesn't even know any of the players that we have at the moment right now. I mean, as far as like what's going to go through. I mean, we just did our release list like yesterday. So I mean, so he doesn't know everything he's working with. I mean, give the guy a break. I mean, again, like you said, like I agree with what Trevor said right there. I'm not bothered by it right there. I mean, he's went through a whole entire season right there with of being in charge of Feyenoord. I mean. Everybody deserves a vacation from that. I mean, but being a manager / head coach is not the most easiest position there is. I mean, it's rigorous and all the other work that you have to do behind the scenes. So I'm fine with it right there. I understand some people want to automatically say, "Hey, go have a guy come in and put his stamp on it right there," and if they don't get that, they kind of heads explode a little bit right there. But it's not worth it. I mean, just let the guy go out there and get a couple weeks. I'd rather just wait to see him come in like July 1st or something like that. Was all this, everything is done and the transfer window opens. Let's hear perspectives, ideas, and then move on from that point.
Trevor, so Z talks about, by the way, head coach management can't be that difficult. Gary Neville did it. But so Z talks about
and we look back at that time at Valencia so fondly.
Oh, we do. Yeah, we do. To be fair, it's like it was like an early birthday present for everybody. So Z talks about he hasn't even maybe at least he could set up a WhatsApp group. But my question to you, Trevor, is how important is it? Number one, that he does that, and number two, is it possible that he's just struggling with Wardle, so he doesn't actually have anything to share on his WhatsApp group?
Yeah, he's got his Wordle to work with. He's got the Quirtles to do, and he got 2 red squares on the Quirtle, and he doesn't want to be embarrassed with the new team. I'm sure that any stuff that's come out, he's probably at least made contact with the captain, and I don't think he's had a powwow with the entire team, but I think the necessary parties, he's at least had a brief phone call or a text with, be like, I'm glad I'm coming aboard. That we'll talk in 2-3 weeks. If you have any questions or you need me, don't call because I'm on vacation with my family. So this is something where I think it's trying to just make something out of nothing. There's a lot of things that, yes, you want him to kind of hit the ground running, but as y'all both said, it's you kind of want to have that grace period between Klopp, the Klopp morning and the slot revival, because you don't. The more time you put in between Jurgen having left and Arnie arriving, the better, because you kind of just make that be his whole. You make this his thing now, instead of you are like when David Moyes took over for Sir Alex. It was just, oh, let's show Sir Alex shaking David Moyes' hand like 900 times, and you're going, this guy does not stand a fucking chance. This guy is dead in the water before he even starts. And well, I'm here for it because David Moyes is a football genius, and it was great. But I think, yeah, this is trying to just kind of we're trying to let ESPN first take it. We have no news, so we're trying to just fill the gaps with speculation and stuff. Save that speculation for transfers, so we can just yell at Fabrizio Romano. The manager is in. We're gonna get him in. He's going to talk to everybody. It's gonna be fine. There's no issues. Everything's great. Just let it marinate.
Just before we do anything else, I just want to point out that if you have birch beer that's a little bit more carbonated water than birch beer flavoring, smash a bit of that Mio in it. The orange flavored Mio. It is fantastic. That's what I have here. It's orange flavored Mio and birch beer together. It is brilliant. I should have done this years ago.
Wow, that sounds like quite a combination.
It is, and I just spilled half of it on me. Probably because I also had a gin. So here's what I want to talk about.
That's the secret ingredient.
That's the secret ingredient. Brian, kind of segueing from Arnie's slot and into our favorite topic before, like 12 minutes-ish before Anan gets on. So he has this reputation of being the striker whisperer. Darwin scored a hat-trick for Uruguay yesterday, or I don't even know what day it is this
yesterday.
week. Yesterday, okay. Against Mexico, but Mexico have admittedly been poor in the last couple of months, if not more. So I don't know what stock you would put on that per se, but he scored a hat-trick and fair play to him. We get the reputation of being the Darwin Núñez anti-fan club, which we're not. We are, but we're not. But does that fill you with encouragement, and are you happy to see what Slot could do with Núñez? Or and I have a graphic to show. Do you think that Slot might end up just going, you know what, I need somebody a bit more consistent than what he's given me?
I mean, if he could do what he did with Jimenez with Darwin Núñez, then that's a lot of encouragement right there, because Jimenez right there prior to him taking over was pretty rough. I mean, he turned him into actually a 20-goal scorer. Let alone, this Eredivisie right there, where I mean, we once had a couple of legends right there of the Eredivisie that scored 36 goals. They go to Premiership and score none. So I mean, so you know how that goes. But I mean, but to turn around a guy's career right there and have him now wanted by some of the big names in Europe. I mean, last I heard it, Jimenez was wanted by like AC Milan and a couple other Italian squads right there for his what he did in Feyenoord. But I mean, I think it's encouraging right there for him to actually see that he can work with Nunez and bring Nunez up with a little bit of I don't know, a little bit of sharpness right there, because that was one thing I said over the past season right there, was it's a lot of things with Nunez were coaching issues right there. And I still feel that way. I think that there was a lot of timing issues, a lot of things right there that they should have been learning on the actual training ground right there, instead of actually going there and executing them in a match. I mean, as far as like just, I know where I'm at right there on the pitch, and you should be aware of that on the training pitch to know where you are on the actual pitch, if you get what I'm saying right there. And I think that's what I think that I'm hoping that his team will be able to work with him and get him into that same type of program.
Sorry, hang on. Right, yeah, okay. Anan has left the donut shop. He has left the donut shop, gentlemen. He's on his way. We're getting close. Trevor,
thank you, Alan, for catching that sneeze. I appreciate it.
Well done, Alan. Brian, I want to just stick on you for one more little bit, because here's a thing that I noticed watching Liverpool training videos, is that whenever we do shooting training, there's no defenders. It's almost always just player gets ball, player shoots ball, which anybody who's done any of the US, UEFA, whatever coaching badges and licenses and courses will tell you, when you have no pressure in training and you come up against pressure in the game, you panic. And I'm sure it's the same in the military. You rely on your training, but if it's not pressure tested, like boxers that only shadow box, when you come up against some sort of resistance, you kind of flake out.
Yep.
Is it possible that the training, in terms of what you say is a coaching issue, is it possible that Slot will do different training sessions where there's more resistance, where Nunez will actually have a chance to develop the calmness that's needed, that he seems to lack when he's one-on-one with the keeper, or when he's just beating a defender who's recovering?
But yeah, I mean, if you think about you look at the early coaching things that you have with like your U8s and U10s right there, where you have your one-on-one, your 2-on-1 drills and your 3-on-3 drills, things like that, where you actually go there and have where you're playing mini matches right there. So you're actually up against resistance in that whole thing. I mean, those is like common coaching things that you learn with coaching youth and like youth football. So I mean, that's one thing that you had to go to basics and strip them down to a thought process. And I mean, the game is a simple game right there. I mean, it's put the ball in the back of the net. I mean, we all know that from the thing, and the resistance right there of stopping that ball from getting into the net right there is the opposite side. So with that right there, I think that if you go there, put these drills in there and have these guys go through, actually work with each other through there. I mean, I think that we can go there and fix him. I mean, again, I think that if you look at Nunez prior to coming to Liverpool, Nunez was scoring. I mean, he had no issues with scoring and all that. And I'm not knocking Nunez's overall game, because I do think that there's a lot that he provides for us, and I think his actual work rate is fantastic. And I also think that his setup play, and I think there's some goals that he scored that have been fantastic goals. It's the simple shit that we keep, that we've always talked about on Thursday night. It's the simple processes right there that steep him right there. That's all mental stuff, and it's all worked through. It's all drills. It's all execution right there. Those are things right there that they have to actually address with Nunez as far as that. I mean, yes, you're a multi-million pound professional right there, but you still have to go learn basics, and you still have to play basics.
I just got word Anan is in the building. He's arrived. He has the donuts. It's Anan.
Yes! This is not okay.
Yes! It is okay.
It's illegal.
Good evening, Anan. How are you?
Not good. Not good.
Have you out the seltzers yourself?
I have a donut for you too, Anan.
Well, I got 12.
Good.
Let us see the size of them.
No, they're full-size donuts, guys.
Oh,
they're full-size.
Oh, you did the bad ones.
Oh, you did. Oh, no, you did.
No, it's not the double chocolate ones.
The chocolate frosting.
Listen,
This is a man who did his research. He's
I have done my homework. I also live in a town where everything closes at 5 o'clock, so I had to go to Walmart to get donuts because that was the only option available.
You live in America?
Yes,
The
I
town of
live
America
in
where
a tiny
everything
little
closes
town
at
in
8.
America where my neighbor drives a tractor to get to work. So that should
You don't live near
explain.
me.
That doesn't mean anything. That could be Ireland. My neighbors
That is
tractors to get anywhere in
true. And
Ireland.
speaking of which, I think I should get going. You guys do your thing, man. Just enjoy the show.
Okay, so here's for Trevor. Here's what I want to show you, and then I can obviously jump in when he's not gestating. I can't say the word anymore, but it's this thing anyway. So there's a diagram that was gone around on social media. I believe I got it on Reddit, and it's just to keep the scale of it. We had to keep it small, so we highlighted the Liverpool players in yellow. We have on the x-axis, the horizontal one is goals, or expected assists rather, and then the vertical axis, non-penalty goals per 90. And quite clearly shows that Jota was probably our best natural goal scorer, but didn't do much in the way of helping goals. Luis Diaz was confirmed my suspicion that he wasn't as productive as we thought he was. He had a lot of energy, but maybe not a lot of end product, whereas Salah and Núñez close together. Núñez slightly more productive on the non-penalty goals, but firmly in the middle, firmly on the average side of average in that pack. And bearing in mind that pack is like the elite of the elite as well, so it's no fault of his. But Trevor, to start with, what does he need to do to push himself upwards on the vertical axis? Because I couldn't care about the assists. We have plenty of playmakers on the team, but we do need somebody who's going to put the crucial goals away. That had he done that in some games, maybe we would have got into that last day needing just a point or two to win the league.
I think we're kind of beating the dead wild horse here. It's a mental thing at this point, because he has all the physical gifts. He makes all the runs despite the millions of offsides. He is a better passer than people give him credit for, and a lot of it is just his brain's flipped upside down or some shit like that. However you want to put it, because it's.
Do you think that's because the ponytail is too tight?
Maybe he needs to go to the Pippi Longstocking braids,
or go to the same barber that Salah went to.
Oh, just get it hacked off entirely.
Yeah, just get it hacked off.
Yeah, maybe that is some sort of cleansing thing that they can all do as a team, and then when things go poorly, just like every English team of the early 2000s, they all just bleach their hair, and then things go to crap. But I really think the biggest thing with him, and that's kind of where I'm kind of excited about Slot being the quote unquote striker whisperer, because Brian talked about Jimenez, and I think the gulf in talent between Jimenez and Núñez is quite wide, and Mexico is quite a shit team, and for both club and country, he has been incredibly useful. For a guy that couldn't get out of his own way in Liga MX, got to move to the Dutch league, wasn't super lighting the world on fire. Slot found a way to kind of maximize his talents, and that's what I think Núñez needs. I think he needs a guy that can come in and just take the thinking out of it for him. Just be like, if you do this with here, you're going to be good. You don't have to worry about this particular thing. What do I do when this guy moves here or this guy shifts over? Just go do your thing. Run around like a psychopath. We got plenty of people that can feed you the ball, just like Anan's feeding himself the donuts. You're going to be great. Just kind of get out of your own head. I genuinely think it's that simple.
And I think a lot of it also is the pressure that's put on him from the Liverpool supporter base. Because if you look at him yesterday for Uruguay, yes, it was against the second string Mexico side. Yes, it wasn't an important game. But the way he played, the confidence on and off the ball, the pressing, everything he did, this is a guy that's not under pressure. He comes in and he plays for us, and there's so much pressure on him, and there's a whole fan base that at some point is going against him. That gets to your head. makes you delete all your Instagram posts too. So it does get to your head.
That's
Uruguay didn't pay $70 million for him, so that's the thing. I think a lot of times the price tag is where the fans come in. They're like, "Oh, this guy was this much," and like nowadays, there's guys that can't even get off the bench for some teams that are getting bought for $50 million. So I think there has to be those tempered expectations at this point. You kind of gotta. We're not gonna like take our foot off the gas when he's offsides 4 times in a game and hits the post. Those are the days where you kind of have to let him have it. But on the days where there's lots there and things just go wrong at the last second a couple times, you kind of got to let that be in its own right and give him that win. Oh, boss man's in the house. Man.
I would call it mush CTV, where it's all going to end up. So, Brian, for Darwin Núñez, that kind of relaxation and the lack of pressure and the price tag on top of that, if we were the Everton fan base, sorry about that. Sorry, and I know you're eating and all that, but if we may have turned on him. I don't think the fan base has turned on Darwin Núñez. I think we just want more from him because we know he can give us more. But is the saving grace for Darwin Núñez, apart from the social media stuff, which is just modern social Western society life these days with morons that would not have access to public speaking 20, 30 years ago, now having access to it. But at least the fans at Anfield and the away fans are happy with his work rate, love his passion and his dedication, love the chaos he creates. But if he just put that finishing touch, no pun intended, he would be probably bigger than Haaland, because I don't think Haaland gives City any more than the goals he scores.
Oh, absolutely. I think that, again, you have the total package of Núñez right there. To me, right there, it is actually, I mean, I'll be controversial, like you said right there, is better than Haaland. So now Haaland is reliant upon somebody there delivering the ball to him, and that's it. I think that Núñez has the ability to go there to find space to actually work through gaps and also go there to set up play. I haven't seen Haaland do any of that stuff. I mean, and that's the one thing where I can praise Núñez about. I think that Núñez right there as an overall package is great. I just don't think that the problem is it goes to thinking right there when we were talking earlier, right there is also roles and responsibilities right there on the pitch. What was Darwin's roles and responsibilities that he had right there in some of these matches? Was it for him to go there to be the assist to assist? Was it for him to set up play? Was it him for to be on the left? I mean, sometimes these interchangeable front threes right there could be a mess right there for a player because you don't quite figure out what exactly what you're supposed to be playing. I said the same thing right there about about a couple players that we've had over our time right there. Salah, you can see Salah's to perform right there after AFCON right there, and the way he changed. Gapco got ran over this entire, got played at least 5 or 6 different positions right there this past season right there until we figured out where Gapco was going to be the better player at. And so, I mean, you try to figure that stuff out with Núñez right there. I think that slots his formation that he's going to use right there will be a better formation for Núñez, I think, because it will actually have Núñez as a focal point right there, and I think that may be something that will be to his advantage. I think also right there of having attacking midfielders behind him and not having too wide people on the wing right there is also going to be an advantage to Núñez. I think that it gives that hole a little bit more narrower, a little bit of narrowing of the front of the pitch to focus for him to score. But like Trevor said, I ain't giving no excuses if he's gonna be offside 4 fucking times in a damn match right there, and then hit the woodwork. I mean, because that's your job. I mean, sorry, in the ultimate right there, that's your job right there. You need to go through and finish shots, and you need to actually be onside when you're ready. We should be onside. But I mean, that right there, I'm gonna praise Núñez because Núñez is he's ours. I'm gonna praise him right there. I'm gonna hope for the best. I want him to score a hat trick every match. I mean, right there, but. If he gets criticized, it should be rightfully criticized.
And then I have 911 dialed, and I'll press the call button if you need us. You just give us a hand signal there.
I think we're good.
And, but by all means, chime in. But not far be it from me to separate a man from his donuts.
We got
Especially when he
7
lost it.
donuts to go.
Oh man!
And I'm gonna be honest here. I don't know how far I'm gonna go with these donuts.
Man, there's Walmart donuts too, man. There's some rough ones.
Number one, we're glad that you're with us, and we want to chat with you as well. The donuts is just a nice little bit of fun, but also in the interest of not encouraging gluttony in our part of the world, because Lord knows it has enough of it. Don't feel you have to eat all 12, although I did 6 and 7 minutes.
We'll see. We'll see how far.
But to be fair, that's why you look like the skinny model, and I look like Mr. Potato Head.
And that's what I was going to say. I'm 150 pounds. I'm not much of an eater, so to have 12 donuts in a day is something I probably haven't done my whole lifetime. But here we go. I got this. Keep going.
We'll make Darwin Núñez. We'll make you the Darwin Núñez of donut eating. We love the spirit and the attempt.
To chime in, I think in the new system, depending on how it looks next season. And with Szoboszlai back in form, I think Darwin, I'll make a bet now that he'll be our top scorer. No more bets, actually. Never mind. I take that back. No more bets.
Well, I mean, I actually almost agree. I think if Slot does follow up with this reputation of being the striker whisperer, or even just somebody who puts defenders in front of the strikers when they're practicing shooting, instead of just having just a goalkeeper, I think we will see a better Darwin Núñez. I think also maybe the tiredness that Klopp had clearly been experiencing and the jadedness for the past 2 years, that maybe he just didn't have it in him to pay him the special attention that he maybe would have done 5 years previously with that energy. And Slot's coming in with an abundant amount of energy. So hopefully it works out that we get the Darwin Núñez we all think we can have. And I think we all agree on that. I would love to not have to sell Darwin Núñez because he didn't live up to expectations, because we could probably triple his value easily if you did the right stuff for us to add on to all the great things he has already done. So as it's Anan's night and it's donuts, let's talk about Thiago. He's gone and he didn't get much playing time, hence the donuts, and he definitely didn't score when he did come back for injury or make it to a full half for that matter. But my question is, Jurgen Klopp was huge on fitness, and I remember liking hearing when he came in that he was having training sessions at like 7 p.m. at night because he believed that if you play at 7 p.m., you should train those conditions and get your kind of body clock used to having that physical exertion at that time of the evening and adjusting your body to when you're going to eat as opposed to a normal day, or when you're going to have a nap as opposed to a normal day. But in terms of the injuries that we have succumbed to sometimes, Trevor, under Klopp, Arne Slot will probably have a more Dutch approach to things, which is to generally use fitness, use the ball to create fitness. So if you're going to do some running, it's going to be in a drill, or it's going to be in a 3v3 game or something like that. Do you think that if we have that lack of injury rate that we had under Klopp, that things will be easier for the players, and therefore we will be able to keep our best players fitter for longer, and Arne Slot may actually surprise us what he does next year?
I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because it was one of those things where you could trust a Klopp-led team to outwork anybody else and really just go above and beyond in a lot of instances to kind of get just impose their will on teams. But you saw the consequences. There was always lots of dead legs and injuries that came with it. Granted, some years those injuries were to more important players. But I digress. I think it's going to have its pluses and its minuses. That you're going to have guys that maybe take advantage of Slot's kindness, I guess, at the beginning of, I'm not running these as Alan put, these 3 session a day murder ball drills, running until everything in my body hurts type of thing. I really think that if you kind of just bridge that gap and you don't immediately become of like, oh, let's just pass triangles until everybody feels fine and just run for running's sake. If you kind of find that happy medium, I think that's going to do a lot for a lot of these players.
Brian, we talk about Klopp's kind of emphasis on fitness and the injury rate and the kind of emphasis on work rate as much as skill. If we had not heard of Klopp and just applied to name David Moyes, because he had a similar reputation for 3-a-days and the famous horseshoe run that he did at United and Everton, where players dreaded it but loved it, etc., etc. Look at us, we are men, and all that nonsense that Phil Neville talked about. But if we had said, just like talked about Klopp's training methods, but said that's David Moyes, we probably would have been a bit suspicious about it, wouldn't we?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that you're actually having a guy coming with a reputation right there. Klopp came as coming from Dortmund, reaching finals, not winning finals, but actually winning the league, beating a Bayern squad. So we already knew who his name was. And so, yeah, I mean, versus him with David Moyes, so we're like, okay, David Moyes, yeah, I mean, the reputation's not there. But, I mean, I want to kind of beat off a little bit what you said earlier about the fitness thing. So every match, almost entire season right there, the first 15 minutes of our matches was a complete dire wreck. I mean, it was something like that happened pre-warm-ups right there. Every match right there where it took us almost the entire first part of the first half, or even going to the second half, till we actually got our head straight and actually played. So what happened right there in that whole thing? That to me, that goes back to the fitness regimen that you went to. If you're working these players and you're working them, and you're going there wearing them down before they can even get their head straight into a match, you have problems. I mean, and same thing goes with a lot of things we've had. We've had players that have come through that Klopp's basically has been known to use, eat up, chew out, spit out, gone. I mean, right there, because of the way his system is. The Geigenpressing that he used is a very hard system right there on the body. And so eventually players can't handle it. I mean, I think that the longevity of like a player like a Mane probably wouldn't have lasted. Mane probably would be a different player right now. I think if he would not have been in the same exact system right there. I think that Mane's wore down toward the end of it right there. And then you obviously saw when he went to Germany, where he was able to mesh with that Bayern squad, and now eventually went to Saudi squad, because I think a lot of the tactics and the regimen that you put on the bodies of these players is a lot. I'll go back to Thiago. I think that Thiago right there, again, is a player right there who was not used to that type of Geigenpressing and constant pressure that they had. It broke him. I mean, Naby Keita broke him. I mean, and I think eventually right there, if we would have went to the whole exactly process and keep on going on with Klopp, and to believe me, I love Klopp. I love to have Klopp there stay for many, many years. I think that you'd probably see the same thing happen right there. I think the only player that didn't break was Milner, because I was thinking he could fucking break Milner. I mean, but like I think Szoboszlai would not last under Klopp. I don't think that a lot of these guys would make it underneath a Klopp for a long period of time.
I mean, if Naby Keita, I think Naby Keita came broken. To be fair, he was like the Nintendo of players, the Super. He just came broken, and Milner's the opposite. So like the complete opposite, immortal. He'll probably be playing when he's 72, and probably playing a decent level. But here's the question. It's kind of, I know Anan's eating a donut, so I want to keep this question open for when he's finished. So Trevor can answer, just to keep rotation going. Is it going to be a case, do you think, if Arne Slot is a little bit gentler on the schedules, is a little bit more smart about recovery and workloads that players are actually capable of? Because I've watched some of the Feyenoord games. They aren't as hard pressing as Liverpool under Klopp. They do press, but it's not as intense. And there are periods where they'll just drop back and let the other team come to them. But is it going to be a case in the sense of like a Thiago or a Naby Keita where we'll look at it and we'll go, do you know what? I wish we had Thiago of 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 3 years ago, because he would have loved playing in this system.
Yeah, you're always going to have those sliding doors moments of what if this player came at this time rather than when he did. I'm gonna throw Naby Keita out immediately for all his talent. He came in with a fucking dog shit attitude and just bitched about everything from Jump Street. So I want this to turn to a clip, no matter how long. Like, fuck Naby Keita at this point. I'm done. That's full stop. Werder Bremen has already told him to hit the showers. They named him like their worst player ever. That's not the award, but let's just put there. He's a guy that I don't think any sort of coddling would have helped. But if you look at guys like Fabio Carvalho, you guys look, the man of the hour, Thiago, Joel Matip, which we've talked a bunch of times, a guy that was coming from not playing a massive schedule with Schalke, especially towards the tail end of his run there when they were not making like Champions League quarterfinals like they were at the start. But yeah, you kind of just got to manage that roster and know your players. You know that everything doesn't need to be just all pushed through one tunnel. Like, you can have you don't need to have different rules, but you can have different ways of dealing with players. Like, you can go, if this guy is not used to playing 4 games in a week, don't play him 4 games in a week. If this guy is just, you can tell that when he goes to like certain stadiums, he just doesn't have it. And everybody has that guy in their team that just has that that place that they can't go play. They have that just bogey team or anything like that. And if it's something that you can't kind of work out as a coach, just avoid it. You have the power to, this guy, last time he played at Fulham, he tripped over his own feet 3 times. He couldn't do these things. He has these bad relationships with people and such. There's scenarios that can be drudged up with anything. And as a coach, you have to know that. And you can keep that from happening. And I'm hoping that's a philosophy that Arne Slot brings to the table of just, hey, this isn't a dictatorship. I can kind of, cater things to certain people at certain times and make everything work better for everybody.
And is it going to be a case for you being Thiago's #1 bestest fan in the whole world? Are you going to look at it and because he was a great player. When we got him fit, he was a fantastic player. He gave us that little bit of difference in the same way that Coutinho gave us a little bit of difference, or even going back to Steve McManaman under Roy Evans, it was just something that was different to the system. Are you going to look back and regret almost that we're not going to see the best of Thiago with a manager who isn't obsessed with fitness?
Yes. And it's going to be heartbreaking. And I'm going to be sick because of it, because of these damn donuts. But it's something you don't like to see in football, right? You get a manager that comes in and that one player doesn't perform. And then when you get a new manager, that player leaves. And you're like, okay, only if they were together. How many of us said only if Stevie G played under Jurgen, what would we have seen? That's how we're going to feel about the likes of Thiago, whose career is essentially ruined by injuries. We can even go before to Daniel Sturridge, but that has nothing to do with Jurgen. That's just the Sturridge thing. These players miss those opportunities, and we're going to come back. And if Slot isn't a crazy pressing machine who's got crazy training sessions, and our players stay fit all season, we're going to win the league without a doubt, because I think the 11 that were out on the pitch last season could have won the league, bar injuries and mishaps from VAR. So we get everybody fit, we get the right system, we win the league. It's going to make us wonder what could have happened if this change was a year earlier Or how many titles could we have won if we kept those players healthy? That'll always be one of those what ifs, but it's a very selfish what if, because then what if that happened and we never won the Champions League? What if that happened and we never won that league for the first time in 30 years? It's a horrendous way to look at things in sports, but we all get those feelings that we're like, what if? I will be sad. I will be heartbroken. I'm looking straight directly at my framed Thiago signed jersey. Once I'm done and go throw up, I'm going to tap it for good luck for tomorrow. But yeah, I'm going to be sad. It's going to hurt, but we move on. It's done.
Brian, talking about, the difference in culture that may happen. The England team was announced today early. Apparently, Southgate wanted to avoid any sort of mess. Kwanzaa's not in the squad. I can't remember who else was also not included. Curtis Jones. But Trent is there, and I think Gomez is either
yep.
or on the cusp. He's probably like a cusp player that if somebody else gets a late call up, which has happened frequently for the Republic of Ireland. So I know those things cause a bit of political upheaval, but it's good to see that he's there. I think Doak is not included for Scotland, or did I read that wrong? Is Doak is Scotland, right?
Doak pulled out. He pulled out.
Come on.
Yeah, he got injured during one of the training sessions right there. They pulled out, so he's done.
And Anna's tapped out with 5.5 remaining. Oh man, again 6 and 7 minutes.
Hey,
what's going on?
I just hope you save the majority of the glazed for tomorrow morning, because those
there you
ones
go. Kwanzaa's on standby. When does Pep's contract run out? So I'll be in a good position then. And Gomez is 100% in. Doak is injured, which is nice and timely. But let's say for Kwanzaa, because I think he's been marvelous. I think he has saved us a ton of money probably on getting, if not a second centre back to partner Virgil, and I think he's more than capable, but at least a third centre back, the way Matip or even the way Fabinho sometimes was when there was injuries. Now, a capable player that you can trust. The fact that he isn't going to be involved in England means his body gets a much needed rest, especially at his young age. So if he gets that rest with the new manager, a slightly new system, and probably I'm thinking Marcelo Bielsa here. Like, anybody who follows Marcelo Bielsa is having, by definition, a slightly less intense training regime, unless it's Felix Magath. But he's going to get rest. Are we going to see the likes of him come back with just an enormous amount of energy and robustness, because he's now played pretty much half to 3/4 of a season of first team football? He's physically capable of it, and he's not going to get run into the ground doing training sessions for games he's not going to play in the Euros.
I mean, I think that rest is needed. And you figure some of these players with there have not had a solid rest in about probably close to 3 years, close to 4 right there, because of how the COVID times went, and also how after that right there, the congestion right there you had at the World Cup, you had the Euros. I mean, you had all these different the qualifiers. So there's been a lot of congested fixtures over the past three to 4 seasons, and I think these guys need that rest. I mean, that also. I'm not going to go there and totally blame everything on Klopp right there for what his training regimen is, because you can see it throughout the entire world of football right there. The amount of injuries that have increased over the past couple of seasons to many players. I mean, so I think that we're putting too much stress on the players as far as football matches. I mean, I think that we have meaningless internationals out there that have no reason. This European conference and American conference, whatever league that they have, it's useless. I mean, and I know a lot of people were really mad about the whole thing going on about the FA Cup and about the League Cup going to one single elimination matches and stuff like that. They got to start thinking about these footballers right there, and so I think that these guys need to have this break somewhere in there to go there to get their body straight, or you're gonna have a lot more injuries. I mean, because I can say right there, totally not a fan of some players like a Wayne Rooney, but I think that Wayne Rooney right there, the amount of football that he played on his body was so immense right there that he was basically a 35-year-old when he was 25, 20 or 26 with the amount of football that he was playing. So I don't want to see that happen to Kwanzaa. I don't want to see it happen to Clark. I don't want to see it happen to any of these kids.
I was going to say, I think half of Rooney's problems was the amount of smoking he did.
Could
And
be the
then
grannies too.
that too as well. We're going to bring Anan back in there. He disappeared. Or do you not want to be? I can get rid of you. We're going to wrap it up anyway. I will just go quickly. We talked last week about your top 4 for the Euros. Who's going to be in the semi-finals? But the question would be just to nail, because we are going to be running through the Euros. We're going to have not just the Monday and the Thursday pods, but we're also going to have hopefully daily updates, short YouTube videos for and all the other social media videos to keep that content, that magical, fantastic content that we have going. But my question, we'll start with Trevor, we'll go with Brian, and we'll end with Anan, our hero of the evening. Although more Robin than Batman, since he didn't finish half the donuts. Trevor, if you were backed into a corner and you had to make a prediction, who's going to win the Euros for you?
First, let me unmute. That's probably.
I mean, that would be helpful.
If I had to just throw it out there, because you want to pick the home team, because that just makes sense. That happens a lot of time, but I can't pick Germany. You want to pick France because that's the smart one, but I will never pick France for anything. The one time that I picked them to win, after saying I'd never pick them to win anything, they went and lost. Alan, you're out of your mind. I'm going to go back to Old Faithful. I'm going to go with a team that has not a super amount of hype, and I think this is the time.
Ireland aren't in it.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. We're gonna get Spain back on top at Euro 2024.
Brian, what's your prediction for the overall winner?
My winner's going to come out of Group D, and I think it's either going to be the Netherlands or France. One of the two right there. I think that they both squads are pretty strong. I think my dark horse again. I think that Portugal is a dark horse in this whole thing. I mean, it's the last supposed tournament of Ronaldo right on there. But I don't think that Germany is a strong squad. I don't think that obviously showed during their qualifiers right there that they had a lot of issues and stuff like that. I think that England finds a way of fucking themselves every time they get in a tournament. So
they're the Arsenal of Europe.
Correct. They have their own Lego head. Southgate.
Aren't Arsenal the Arsenal of Europe? Technically.
Yeah. So I think so.
They're the international Arsenal.
Okay.
Hey, I think Southgate's going to do the same Euro 96 thing with the England squad like he does every year right there. Not that, so I'm sure it hurts a couple England supporters right there. But yeah, I really want to say I think that it's either going to be Netherlands or France. So I'm leaning more toward France. I think that France is a pretty complete package as far as like depth and strength and all that. And I think that Mbappe right there is a pretty solid lead up on as a forward for them.
Anan, what's your overall pick?
I think France win it all, but you will see that Germany playing the Nagelsmann football. That's going to look good. So my final 4, I guess we would say, is England, Germany, France, and Spain.
I'm gonna go Scotland because
totally. That's exactly what I was going to say too.
The whole thing, Robertson and ex-Liverpool coach Steve Clark and half the Celtic team. It's got to be magic. You're all going to be wrong.
There's one for you, Anan.
There's a donut for Anan. We want to thank Anan first of all for coming onto the show and fulfilling half of his bet forfeit. 6.5.
The remaining will be finished tomorrow morning, guys, in the morning show. Just so you know, I will fulfill my bet.
This is what we like to call a cliffhanger.
I'll tune in. To see.
Now you're gonna watch.
But for everybody else, number one, we'll have our morning coffee show tomorrow morning with our sponsors, Reckless Coffee, and we will have our Euro 2024 coverage coming up. So stick around with us and make sure you are also following us on the socials, the YouTube, and the Facebook and the Instagram and the artist formerly known as Twitter, currently known as X, and also our Patreon, which you get all the nice extra good stuff, which is what you really want. You want to see more of us. You want to see more of this crazy crew and my beautiful face and Anand's donut eating, because, as he told us, he's sick. I think he means sick in the good hip hop way. You mean sick in the good hip hop way. And Alan correctly says, press that like button now. Make sure you're subscribing. If you don't, you won't know what's going on. If you don't get those notifications, you won't know what all the good stuff we have coming out is. And then if you don't share, your friends won't know. And you don't want to be the person that doesn't tell your friends that American Scouser TV has some hot, fantastic content, and that's just our faces on the screen. But for the rest of us, we hope you have a fantastic time. We'll be back next Thursday for sure, and all of our other great content for next week, starting with the Monday morning coffee and then the Monday evening podcast. But from Trevor, from Brian, and from the heroic and fantastic Anan, thank you for giving us your time away from the tractors. We will see everybody next week, and we will end, as always, just for Anan, with the 70s porn music. Have a good one.